Hello, good people of YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a while since my last video, and I put that down to me being lazy, number one. Two, COVID getting in the way of things. Essentially, I've been away from my place for the last month and a half, and I've been away from my two little watch boxes over there. So I only had my emergency supply of watches with me. And number three, I bought this new camera, so I'm no longer relying on my telephone for videos as per my first 4 videos. So hopefully there's a increase in quality of the video and audio, at least. Hopefully the content as well. I almost forgot to do the wristwatch check. It wouldn't be a real watch channel without that, right? So here it goes. Hopefully it focuses. I'm not going to get in much closer than that, but it's nothing exciting. It's just my G-Shock, the squared version with the multi-band and tough solar. So without further ado, let's change perspectives. Let's get the San Martin out of the box and let's take a closer look at it. So guys, here's the watch box that it came in. I paid £223, and this was in the anniversary sale 3-4 months ago. Its current price is $237, I think, so I saved around 6%. The watch took around 3 weeks to arrive, which is pretty good for China to UK. Upon arrival I ended up paying £13 customs fee, which is somewhat unusual because I've never had to pay custom fees for Chinese watches in the past. Here's the watch. So, a pretty looking thing, and substantial in hand. Monoblock case, but I'm going to go through the specs now. So, let's go step by step of what we have in front of us. So what you're looking at is AR coated sapphire crystal. The movement is NH35A. You have 316L stainless steel construction all around. Diameter is 44mm. It's 15mm thick. And the bandwidth is 20mm. And I don't think there's any taper on there. The colour is described as Sunray Blue on the website. There's also green and black variants, as well as date and no date options at no additional cost. As you can see, I've gone for a date option. Hands and indices have heaps of C3 lume. One of the best lume watches I have for sure. Really lights up very nicely. I'm not going to demonstrate it today, but take my word for it, it's very impressive. It has a screw down crown. As I mentioned already, a monoblock case, and it has this cool Sharp logo. Very nice and clean and sharp. The bracelet is solid steel, and there's a mixture of brushed and polished. In fact, most of it is brushed, which I like, but then there are these polished details on the mid links, which is actually a nice touch. And the clasp is fully milled and very solid indeed. A very good bracelet, actually, I would say. The only thing I don't like, or I'm not a fan of, is the actual clasp design itself. It kind of resembles the rest of the bracelet, so it looks uniform, but I would have preferred just a plain clasp myself. So the good, I've covered a few things already. There's plenty of good here, but in my case, and I may have been unlucky, but there's quite a few bad points as well I would like to go through. So when it comes to the good side of things, I like the bulkiness and the weight. So we're talking about 202 grams after 2 links have been removed. So it's a very, very chunky watch. It's water resistant to 300 meters, apparently. I'm not sure how much they do in the way of testing to confirm that, but let's take them at their word. A lovely blue dial. It gives a lot of nice play in a light, as you might be seeing right now. Loads of lume, and the bracelet is solid, and the finishing of the case itself is really nice. You can see some mixture of polished and brushed detail, but inevitably we'll have to talk about the bad, and in this instance I came very close to returning this watch, and I kind of wish I did, but I'll explain what happened there. So firstly, there are a few QC issues with my example. The crown is too short, and as a result the threading suffers a lot, and as a consequence of that it's difficult to set the date and set the time. If you're someone that has a few watches in their collection like me, you're going to put this aside one day, and 2 days later you're going to need to wind it, set the time. And my one, the crown is it's really annoying actually. When you unscrew the crown, you're in first position, the winding position, but in my case 50-60% of the time when I'm in the winding position it also changes the date. In fact, it doesn't wind it, it just changes the date, and it's annoying, right? It shouldn't be the case in a watch costing £220, which is a replica or a copy of a Seiko watch. So I contacted the seller and I explained this issue, and I also mentioned that the date window isn't fully in line with well, where it's supposed to be. I think right now it looks okay because I fiddled with it just before the video, but actually often the date will be touching either one of the edges of the display, which again is a considerable annoyance. I kind of wish I just didn't get the date version now. So, you know, I was faced with either returning the watch, which is what the seller offered, or just living with it and potentially taking it to a watch repair shop in my local area in London and paying God knows how much for them to disassemble this thing. And don't forget, it's a monoblock case, and paying, you know, probably half the price of the actual watch to get it repaired. So I decided to negotiate with the seller, and I didn't raise an official request with AliExpress because the seller was very responsive and I wanted to resolve it that way. In the end we settled on about, I think it was like 30% refund, maybe a bit less. And the seller also sent me a new stem for the crown, which, you know, it's a nice gesture, but at the end of the day San Martin are supposedly one of the more reputable sellers on AliExpress, and I think my example just goes to show that the QC is lacking severely, because anyone with any sort of basic knowledge of a watch is going to be able to QC the crown function and say this one immediately that it's not functioning correctly. In my case, clearly there was no QC checks, and it leaves me disappointed actually. San Martin is, you know, like I said, one of the better brands coming out of China, and had this been a good example I would no doubt have bought a few more San Martin watches, but I think this will be my last one. So in conclusion, can I recommend this? Not really, not based on my experience. I think I would rather have my money back than have this watch, because, you know, when you pay £230, I expect things to work as they are designed to work, not a half-assed job, which is what I got. So I'm a little bit disappointed. I like the watch overall, but I wanted it to function properly and not have to demand servicing in order to get it to that condition upon arrival. So I'm disappointed. It will stay in my collection because I can't really sell it with the crown dysfunction, or I could, but I wouldn't be able to demand a fair price. So I'm not going to sell it, I'm going to keep it, and maybe further down the line when I start dabbling in you know, watch repairs and modifications myself, I can treat this as a project, but for the time being I'm going to enjoy it occasionally and try not to use it too often, because the crown is going to remind me that it's essentially broken. So yeah guys, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for your patience. It's been a while since I made a video. Just been a busy guy, and coronavirus doesn't help with logistics and everything else. So I've got a few more watches that I'd like to review, and I hope to be able to get around to reviewing them soon. So until next time, peace and out.